God says, a financial blessing has been released in your name. This is not a metaphor. This is not symbolic language. This is not something that might happen one day in the distant future. This is a present tense declaration from heaven. A financial blessing has already been released, and your name is attached to it. But there is a warning wrapped inside this promise. Don't let it pass to someone else. Open this urgently before midnight. There are moments in the spirit realm when divine opportunities are activated, and those moments carry timing. Timing is not pressure, it is purpose. And when heaven sets a time, it is because something is moving, something is shifting, something is being transferred. You did not click on this message by accident. You were led here because something has your name on it, and God does not want you to miss it through delay, distraction, or disbelief. There are people who pray for financial breakthrough for years, yet when the answer begins to manifest, they hesitate. They question. They doubt. They delay. And in the realm of the Spirit, hesitation can cost destiny moments. God is saying clearly, this is not the hour to be casual. This is not the hour to scroll past your confirmation. This is not the hour to treat a divine release like ordinary information. A financial blessing has been released in your name. That means provision has already been authorized. It means movement has already begun. It means heaven has responded. But the phrase "don't let it pass to someone else" reveals something sobering. Blessings require alignment. When someone is not prepared, not attentive, not spiritually awake, opportunities can shift. The window remains open, but only for those who step into it. Why before midnight? Because midnight represents transition. It is the line between one day and the next. It is the dividing moment between what was and what will be. Spiritually, midnight is often when cycles close and new seasons begin. When God speaks about urgency tied to midnight, it signals a threshold moment. You are standing at the edge of a shift. The financial pressure you've been under, the unexpected expenses, the silent stress you've carried, none of it has gone unnoticed. Heaven has seen the strain. Heaven has recorded the tears. Heaven has heard the whispered prayers you prayed when no one else was around. And now, something has been released. But here is the rare revelation many do not understand. In the spiritual realm, releases can be reassigned if recipients are spiritually disconnected. This is not about God being cruel. It is about readiness. When a blessing is sent, it looks for faith. It looks for obedience. It looks for someone who will receive it without fear. There have been moments in your past where delay cost you opportunities. Doors you felt slip away. Chances you thought were meant for you but somehow passed by. This is not one of those moments, unless you treat it like one. God is drawing your attention right now because He wants you alert. He wants you spiritually positioned. He wants you aware that this is not random encouragement. This is a directive. Some of you have been asking for a sign. You said, "God, if you are about to move financially in my life, show me clearly." And now here you are, hearing the exact words your spirit needed. A financial blessing has been released in your name. The specificity matters. Your name. Not a group. Not a vague audience. Your name. Heaven is not confused about who this belongs to. The question is not whether it has been released. The question is whether you will open this urgently before midnight. Meaning, will you respond with faith before this transitional window closes? Urgency in the Spirit is not about panic. It is about priority. When something matters, you move. When something is valuable, you protect it. When something has your name on it, You claim it. God is not trying to create fear. He is awakening responsibility. Financial blessings are often connected to divine assignments. Sometimes the money is not just for comfort, it is for calling. It is for stability so you can focus on purpose. It is for freedom from burdens that have weighed down your faith. If this blessing passes because of indifference, the delay could stretch longer than you expect. Right now, there is a stirring happening in you, a mix of hope and seriousness. That is not coincidence. That is recognition. Your spirit recognizes when heaven speaks your name. This is why the message feels urgent. This is why it feels direct. This is why it feels like it found you instead of you finding it. Because timing matters. And tonight, before midnight, something is shifting. The only question left is this: will you step into alignment, or will you let hesitation cause you to watch what was meant for you move into someone else's hands? This is your alert. This is your wake-up call. A financial blessing has been released in your name. Do not treat this lightly. Do not assume it will wait indefinitely. Do not allow distraction to steal what destiny has authorized. Open this urgently before midnight, not just physically, but spiritually. Align your faith. Prepare your heart. Position your spirit. Because when heaven releases something with your name on it, the only thing that can stop it is your failure to respond. When God says a financial blessing has been released in your name, it means something far deeper than a hopeful promise. It means there has been an authorization in the heavenly realm. It means your name was spoken in a place where destinies are recorded and seasons are appointed. This is not random favor. This is not luck. This is not coincidence. This is divine documentation. There are moments when heaven moves generally, blessing groups and regions. But then there are moments when heaven moves specifically, calling out individuals by name. This is one of those moments. Your name has been spoken. You must understand the power of being named. When your name is called in the natural world, it demands your attention. But when your name is spoken in the spirit, it activates movement. Throughout your life, there have been seasons when you felt forgotten. Seasons when it seemed like others were advancing while you were waiting. Seasons when you wondered if heaven even remembered the sacrifices you made, the generosity you showed, the obedience you chose when it was hard. But heaven never forgets. Every act of faith is recorded. Every tear is seen. Every seed is accounted for. And now, your name has surfaced in a moment of release. A financial blessing has been released in your name. That means provision is not wandering aimlessly. It is not searching for random destination. It has an address. It has an assignment. It has a recipient. And that recipient is you. But here is the truth many overlook. When God releases something with your name on it, He expects you to respond like someone who believes it belongs to them. Faith is not passive. Faith reaches. Faith prepares. Faith aligns itself with what has already been authorized. You may be asking, how do I know this is truly for me? The answer is found in the stirring within your spirit. There is something about this message that feels personal. It feels direct. It feels like confirmation. That is because when heaven speaks your name, your spirit recognizes the sound. You did not arrive here by accident. Out of all the noise and distractions around you, this message broke through. That is not random. That is alignment. There are blessings that are conditional upon readiness. Not because God wants to withhold, but because He wants to ensure you are prepared to steward what is coming. A financial blessing is not only about receiving money. It is about stepping into a new level of responsibility. influence, and impact. Sometimes the delay was not denial. It was preparation. Sometimes the waiting season was building your character, strengthening your discipline, teaching you wisdom so that when the release came, you would not lose it. Right now, heaven is not questioning whether to release it. The release has already happened. The only remaining question is whether you will align yourself in agreement. Agreement is powerful. When you agree with what God says about you, you activate acceleration. When you resist or doubt, you slow the manifestation. That is why this moment matters. That is why the warning exists. Don't let it pass to someone else. Not because God is unstable, but because alignment is essential. This is the time to declare, if my name was spoken, I am ready. This is the time to shift your mindset from scarcity to expectation. This is the time to prepare your heart and even your practical life for change. Financial blessings often arrive in unexpected forms, new opportunities, restored connections, sudden ideas, favor with decision makers. But if you are distracted or doubtful, you might overlook the very door that was opened for you. And let me say this clearly, if this word is resonating with you, do not keep it silent. Engage with it. Declare your agreement. Take a moment right now to like this message as a sign of faith. Subscribe to this channel if you are ready to stay aligned with prophetic direction. Comment boldly, my name was spoken, if you believe this release is connected to you. Share this message with someone who has been praying for financial breakthrough, because obedience grows stronger when faith is shared. When you interact in faith, you are not just clicking a button, you are making a declaration in the spiritual realm that you are ready to receive what has been authorized. There is power in agreement. There is power in unity. And there is power in responding immediately when heaven calls your name. Do not underestimate the importance of this moment. A financial blessing has been released in your name. That means provision is already in motion. Conversations are shifting. Doors are aligning. Circumstances are adjusting. Even if you cannot see it yet, movement has begun. Before midnight, something is solidifying. Before midnight, a line is being drawn between your old season and your new one. The authorization has been stamped. The release has been issued. Your name has been spoken. The only thing left is your response. Will you step forward in agreement, or will you hesitate and watch the opportunity drift? This is not the hour for doubt. This is the hour for bold faith. There is something you must understand right now, and it carries both urgency and revelation. Not every released blessing is automatically received. A financial blessing has been released in your name, but release and reception are not the same thing. Heaven can authorize it, dispatch it, and assign it, but if the recipient hesitates, doubts, or ignores the moment, the flow can shift. This is the danger of delay. This is why the warning was clear. Don't let it pass to someone else. Open this urgently before midnight. Delay does not always look like rebellion. Sometimes it looks like overthinking. Sometimes it looks like fear disguised as caution. Sometimes it looks like waiting for one more confirmation. But when God has already spoken clearly, continued hesitation becomes resistance. And resistance can create spiritual gaps. In those gaps, opportunities move. You have seen it before. A door opened, but you second-guessed. A connection appeared, but you assumed it was coincidence. An idea stirred, but you postponed acting on it. Later, you watched someone else step into something that looked exactly like what you prayed for. This is not about competition. This is about readiness. In the spiritual realm, Blessings are often attached to timing. There are windows when favor is flowing strongly. There are moments when divine acceleration is available. If you align during the window, you ride the wave of movement. If you delay, you may find yourself trying to recreate momentum that has already shifted. God is not punishing you. He is teaching you the importance of spiritual alertness. The phrase, "don't let it pass to someone else," reveals a serious truth. Blessings can be reassigned when alignment is absent. Throughout history, opportunities meant for one person were handed to another because of disobedience, fear, or indifference. The blessing did not disappear. It simply found a willing vessel. God is looking for vessels who respond quickly, who say yes without endless negotiation, who trust His word even when the details are still forming. Right now, your response matters more than your understanding. You may not see how the financial blessing will manifest. You may not know whether it will come through a new job, a business breakthrough, debt cancellation, unexpected favor, or restored opportunities. But faith does not require a full blueprint. Faith requires agreement. If you delay your agreement, you slow the manifestation. Midnight is not just a time on a clock. It is a line of transition. It represents the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. When God ties urgency to midnight, He is highlighting a shift point. Something about your season is closing. Something new is preparing to begin. But transitions demand decision. You cannot carry hesitation across the threshold and expect acceleration on the other side. The enemy of financial breakthrough is often not lack of resources. It is lack of decisive faith. When you doubt long enough, you create internal resistance. When you postpone action, you send mixed signals. Heaven responds to clarity. When you say, "Yes, Lord, I receive what you have released in my name," you create spiritual alignment. Alignment opens channels. Channels allow flow. You have already waited long enough. You have endured seasons of lack, uncertainty, and stretching. You have learned lessons about stewardship, patience, and humility. This moment is not about testing your endurance anymore. It is about testing your responsiveness. Will you move when prompted? Will you declare ownership of what has been authorized? Will you position yourself before midnight as someone ready to receive? There is something deeper happening that you must not overlook. The urgency attached to this word is not meant to create anxiety. It is meant to awaken urgency in your spirit. When something valuable is being delivered, you do not wander away from the door. You stay attentive. You prepare space. You anticipate arrival. A financial blessing has been released in your name. Do not act indifferent. Do not treat it as ordinary encouragement. This is instruction. And hear this carefully. What happens at midnight carries deeper meaning than you think. There is a shift that many miss because they are spiritually asleep when the transition occurs. But those who remain alert step into acceleration while others remain in delay. You will be glad you stayed attentive to this message, because the next phase of revelation will expose exactly how to secure what has been released. Before we move further, understand that obedience is often the bridge between release and manifestation. When you respond in faith, you seal the transfer. When you declare agreement, you strengthen the channel. Do not let fear whisper that you are unworthy. Do not let doubt convince you that this is for someone more qualified. Your name was spoken. Your name was attached. Your name was authorized. If you receive this word, type "I receive my release" in the comments right now. Blessing code 316 is now activated over your finances. As this word about your financial release settles into your spirit, Understand that every message like this is a seed sown into hearts across nations. When you give through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are not funding a channel. You are watering a harvest of souls who are desperate for confirmation that heaven has not forgotten them. The Lord says, "As you sow beside all waters, you shall reap in due season," and this is not ancient text. It is His living voice speaking over you now. I feel led to say this clearly. When you act in generosity in this moment, you align yourself with the very flow of provision being released in your name. Let your giving become a prophetic act before midnight. The PayPal link is in the description, and the QR code may be flashing on your screen. Step into obedience without delay. As you release your seed, may open heavens respond over your finances. Sow now, and seal your alignment with the blessing in motion. There have been other times in your life when money came in. There have been paychecks, small increases, temporary relief, and unexpected help. But what God is speaking about now is not ordinary income. This financial blessing that has been released in your name is different. It carries a divine signature. It carries purpose. It carries timing. And most importantly, it carries transformation. Ordinary income sustains you. Divine provision shifts you. This is not just about receiving funds to cover bills. This is about breaking a pattern. This is about interrupting cycles of strain that have quietly drained your energy. Some of you have grown used to surviving. You learned how to stretch, how to manage lack, how to make do. You became strong under pressure. But survival was never meant to be your permanent state. God does not train you in endurance so that you remain in hardship forever. He trains you so that when abundance arrives, you have the wisdom to handle it. This financial release is different because it is connected to timing. You are not the same person you were 5 years ago. You are not as impulsive. You are not as careless. You are not as easily distracted. The delays you experienced were not wasted years. They were preparation years. While you were praying for increase, God was developing maturity. While you were asking for breakthrough, God was strengthening discipline. And now, when the release has come, you are in a position to sustain what you receive. There is also something supernatural about this particular blessing. When provision is sent directly from God's hand, it often arrives with acceleration attached to it. What would normally take years can compress into months. What seemed impossible can unfold quickly. You may see doors open that you did not even knock on. You may encounter favor from people who were once distant. You may receive ideas that generate streams of income you never considered before. Divine provision does not always look dramatic at first, but it carries unusual momentum. Another reason this release is different is because it follows warfare. Think about the resistance you have faced recently. The unexpected expenses, the strange delays, the emotional heaviness connected to finances, the moments when it felt like every time you moved forward, something pushed back. That resistance was not random. Often, increased pressure is a sign that something valuable is near. The enemy does not fight what is empty. He resists what carries breakthrough. Your recent financial strain was not proof of abandonment. It was evidence of approaching elevation. The pressure intensified because the release was close. And now, the release has happened. But here is what makes it unique. This blessing is not only for relief, it is for repositioning. God is not just trying to bring you out of debt. He is trying to shift your financial identity. He is moving you from instability into structure, from anxiety into authority, from reacting to circumstances into directing them. A divine financial blessing does more than change numbers in your account. It changes how you think, how you plan, how you build. It creates breathing room so that you can hear God more clearly about your purpose. Many people ask for money, but few understand responsibility. This release is different because it comes with expectation. When heaven sends provision, it expects stewardship. That does not mean pressure. It means partnership. God is inviting you into a higher level of trust. He is saying, I have seen how you handled little. Now I am releasing more. But more requires alignment. More requires intentionality. More requires obedience. You may begin to notice subtle shifts even before midnight. Conversations may feel different. Opportunities may surface in unexpected ways. Even your mindset may start adjusting. That is because when a blessing is released, the atmosphere around you begins to respond. It is like a stone dropped into water. Ripples move outward long before the full impact is visible. This is also different because it is connected to your assignment. There are things you have not been able to do because of financial limitation. Seeds you wanted to sow. Projects you wanted to start. Generosity you wanted to express. This release is not just about comfort. It is about capacity. God increases you so that you can influence more. He blesses you so that you can bless others. And when you understand that, you begin to treat the blessing with reverence instead of casual excitement. Do not compare this release to previous moments of temporary relief. This is not a short-term patch. This is a shift in trajectory. The warning about not letting it pass to someone else remains important because what is being offered is substantial. It carries weight. It carries potential. And it requires awareness. Before midnight, settle this in your spirit. This is not ordinary. This is not random. This is not emotional high. A financial blessing has been released in your name, and it is different from what you have known before. It carries divine timing, supernatural momentum, and purposeful increase. The delays shaped you. The pressure refined you. And now, the release is positioning you. The question is no longer whether it is coming. It has been released. The question is whether you will recognize how different it truly is and step into it with the seriousness and faith it deserves. There is a reason the warning was so specific. Open this urgently before midnight. God does not attach random deadlines to divine releases. When He highlights a time, it is because that time carries spiritual significance. Midnight is not just a number on a clock. It is a crossing point. It is the exact second when one day ends and another begins. It is the invisible line between what was and what will be. And in the spirit realm, crossing points matter. Midnight represents transition. It represents closure and commencement happening simultaneously. While the natural world sees darkness, the spiritual realm often sees activation. Throughout history, some of the most powerful shifts have happened in moments that felt quiet and unseen. Midnight is symbolic of those unseen shifts. It is the hour when chains have broken, when prayers have been answered suddenly, when long seasons have ended without public announcement. When God says a financial blessing has been released in your name and ties urgency to midnight, He is signaling that you are standing at a threshold. The threshold demands awareness. If you sleep through a threshold moment, you wake up in a new day without having consciously stepped into it. But if you approach it intentionally, you cross with clarity, expectation, and authority. You have been in a financial season that felt stretched. It may have felt like a long day that refused to end. But midnight signals the conclusion of that cycle. The warning to act before midnight is not about fear. It is about alignment with transition. Your moments when heaven opens a window, and that window does not remain open indefinitely. It is not that God is unwilling, It is that seasons are structured. When a season closes, the grace assigned to it shifts. Imagine standing at a door that is slowly closing. The invitation has already been given. The blessing has already been released. But if you hesitate outside the doorway, unsure whether you should enter, you risk missing the ease of transition. The midnight window is your moment to step fully into agreement. It is your moment to declare that the old cycle of delay ends here. There is something powerful about making decisions before a transition occurs. When you decide in advance, you cross over with intention rather than reaction. That is what this message is urging you to do. Do not wait until after midnight to suddenly try to align your faith. Do not postpone your declaration. Act now. Align now. Receive now. When midnight arrives, you should already be positioned. Prophetic timing also reveals urgency because the spiritual atmosphere shifts at transition points. When one season ends, resistance that was tied to that season weakens. New favor becomes available. New ideas begin to flow. New connections become accessible. But those benefits are accessed by those who recognize the timing and respond. You may feel a heightened sensitivity right now, a seriousness, a sense that something is indeed shifting. That is because your spirit recognizes thresholds even when your mind is still processing. The midnight hour is not about superstition. It is about symbolism and spiritual alignment. It is about understanding that God works within divine order. Some people ignore timing and assume blessings will simply wait for them. But timing is part of stewardship. When you respect divine timing, you demonstrate maturity. You show that you understand seasons. Farmers do not ignore harvest time. They move quickly when the crop is ready because delay risks loss. In the same way, when God signals that a financial blessing has been released and highlights a deadline, He is revealing that the harvest is ready. This does not mean panic. It means focus. It means intentionality. Before midnight, quiet your doubts. Before midnight, silence internal arguments that question your worthiness. Before midnight, declare your readiness. Even if the physical manifestation has not yet appeared, your alignment must happen now. Midnight also represents separation. It separates yesterday from tomorrow. It separates the old ledger from the new one. It separates past strain from future stability. When you cross into the new day with agreement in your spirit, you position yourself differently than if you cross over distracted and uncertain. There is also a hidden blessing in acting before midnight. When you move ahead of the transition, you demonstrate faith that precedes evidence. That kind of faith accelerates manifestation. It tells heaven that you trust the release enough to align before you see it. As the clock moves closer to midnight, understand that you are not racing against fear. You are responding to opportunity. The window is open. The blessing has been released. The threshold is in front of you. This is the hour to solidify your agreement. This is the hour to prepare your heart. This is the hour to close the chapter of delay and step into the chapter of provision. Midnight is approaching, and when it arrives, it will not simply mark a new day. It will mark a new season for those who chose to respond before the crossing. Whenever God prepares to transfer something significant into your life, there is almost always a test before the transfer. A financial blessing has been released in your name, but before it fully manifests in your hands, your heart is being examined. Not to disqualify you, but to confirm you. Not to intimidate you, but to prepare you. The test before transfer is rarely announced. It does not come with a label that says, "This is your final evaluation." Instead, it shows up disguised as pressure. It shows up as delay. It shows up as an opportunity to doubt. In this very moment, as you stand before midnight with urgency attached to this promise, the real question is not whether God will provide. The real question is whether you will remain steady in belief. Tests reveal alignment. When a financial blessing is released, heaven watches how you respond before you see it. Do you complain or do you declare? Do you shrink back or do you step forward in expectation? Do you panic at temporary obstacles or do you hold your peace knowing something has already been authorized? Some of you are being tested in small, subtle ways right now. An unexpected bill appears. A conversation challenges your hope. A delay stretches your patience. These moments are not proof that the blessing hath been canceled. They are proof that the transfer is near. Resistance often increases before elevation. Pressure intensifies before promotion. The test is not meant to break you. It is meant to prove that you are ready to carry what is coming. God does not release greater provision into hands that are unstable with lesser provision. That is not judgment. That is wisdom. The waiting seasons taught you discipline. The tight seasons taught you budgeting. The uncertain season taught you prayer. Now, as the financial blessing approaches, the final test is about trust. Can you trust what God said even if the physical evidence is still forming? Think about how gold is refined. Peat is applied not to destroy it, but to remove impurities. In the same way, the test before transfer refines your mindset. It burns away fear. It exposes hidden doubt. It strengthens conviction. If you can stand firm now, before midnight, then when the blessing fully manifests, you will not mishandle it. There is also a deeper layer to this test. It is not only about faith, it is about identity. Do you see yourself as someone who is worthy of increase? Or do you secretly believe that struggle is your permanent identity? Sometimes the greatest barrier to financial breakthrough is not external limitation, but internal conditioning. You may have grown accustomed to saying, "I never seem to get ahead." But that statement cannot survive in a season where God has released provision in your name. The transfer requires a new identity. You must begin to see yourself as a steward of increase. You must begin to speak like someone who expects overflow. You must begin to think beyond survival and into sustainability. The test exposes whether you are still mentally anchored in lack or mentally preparing for abundance. Another part of this testing phase is obedience in small instructions. When God nudges you to organize, to prepare, to forgive, to reconnect, to apply, to plan, those nudges are not random. They are positioning steps. If you ignore small instructions, you delay larger outcomes. But if you respond quickly to small guidance, you create pathways for greater release. Before midnight, ask yourself honestly, have I aligned my thoughts with the promise? Have I positioned my actions with expectation? Have I removed doubt from my language? The test before transfer is not complicated. It is about consistency. It is about refusing to let temporary emotion override divine declaration. You may feel tension right now, a sense that something is building. That tension is not a warning of loss, it is the stretching before expansion. When a container is about to hold more, it must expand. Expansion can feel uncomfortable, but it is necessary. The blessing you are about to receive requires a larger internal capacity. Remember, the blessing has already been released. The transfer is in motion, but the final confirmation is your response under pressure. Will you remain confident even if the manifestation takes a little longer than expected? Will you speak life even when circumstances try to provoke fear? Will you choose alignment before midnight, even if nothing visible has shifted yet. This is your proving ground. This is the moment where your faith matures from hopeful wishing into firm conviction. Do not fail this test by retreating into doubt. Stand steady. Declare readiness. Embrace discipline. Because when the transfer completes, it will not just change your finances, it will confirm your growth. The test before transfer is not meant to intimidate you. It is meant to announce that you are closer than you think. Hold your ground. Midnight approaches, and with it comes confirmation that you passed. When God says, "A financial blessing has been released in your name," it is natural to ask, "Is this truly for me?" The answer is not hidden in confusion. There are signs. There are indicators. There are patterns that appear before divine provision manifests. And if you look closely at your recent season, you may begin to recognize that the evidence has been building around you for some time. One of the first signs that you are the one chosen for this release is increased financial pressure right before breakthrough. It sounds contradictory, but it is consistent. Many people experience an unusual tightening just before expansion. Expenses seem to rise. Resources seem to stretch thinner. Opportunities appear delayed. This pressure is not proof that you are forgotten. It is often proof that something is shifting. Pressure precedes movement. When a door is about to open, resistance frequently tries to convince you that it never will. Another sign is repeated confirmation. You may have heard similar messages from different sources. Conversations about increase may keep appearing unexpectedly. Scriptures about provision may seem to surface repeatedly. Even random thoughts about stepping into something greater financially may have become more frequent. When heaven wants your attention, it does not whisper once and disappear. It confirms. It repeats. It aligns voices and circumstances to echo the same theme. Pay attention to the internal stirring you feel right now. There is something in your spirit that reacts strongly to the words released in your name. That reaction is not emotional manipulation. It is recognition. When your spirit recognizes truth, it resonates. You may feel seriousness instead of casual interest. You may feel urgency instead of indifference. That internal response is a sign that this message is not generic for you. It is targeted. Another clear sign is unusual favor beginning to surface in subtle ways. Perhaps someone offered help unexpectedly. Perhaps a door that once seemed closed has shown signs of movement. Perhaps an idea has been forming in your mind with clarity and potential. Divine financial blessings do not always fall from the sky suddenly. They often begin as seeds. But those seeds carry a different weight. They feel viable. They feel aligned. They feel like more than imagination. You may also notice that old fears about money are being challenged. Thoughts like "I will never get ahead" are losing their strength. Instead, there is a quiet sense that change is possible. That mental shift is significant. Before circumstances change, perspective often changes first. When God prepares to elevate you financially, He begins by upgrading your mindset. He gently removes the identity of struggle and replaces it with the identity of stewardship. Another sign that you are the one chosen for this release is the intensity of recent warfare. When something valuable is near, opposition increases. You may have faced discouragement that seems stronger than usual. You may have encountered unexpected conflicts or emotional heaviness. These moments were not random disruptions. They were attempts to exhaust your faith before the transfer. But the fact that you are still here, still listening, still believing, proves that the resistance did not win. Consider also the dreams and desires that have resurfaced recently. Goals you once set aside due to lack may have started reappearing in your thoughts. Plans you postponed may feel possible again. That rekindling is not coincidence. When a financial blessing approaches, dormant visions awaken. It is as if your spirit senses that capacity is increasing and begins preparing to build again. There is another subtle but powerful sign, a growing sense of responsibility. Instead of simply wishing for more money, you find yourself thinking about managing it wisely. You consider savings, investments, generosity, structure. That shift from desperation to strategy is evidence of maturity, and maturity attracts increase. God does not release greater resources into chaos. He releases them into readiness. If you are honest, you can look back and see that your journey has not been wasted. The delays taught you patience. The setbacks taught you resilience. The tight seasons taught you gratitude for small wins. All of these lessons have formed a foundation. And now, the release has come. The warning to act before midnight is not random. It aligns with the signs you have already been experiencing. You were not drawn to this message by accident. Something in you recognized its importance. That recognition itself is a sign. You are not an observer watching someone else's promise. You are a participant in a divine shift. The financial blessing was not released generically. It was released in your name. If the pressure increased before this word came, that is a sign. If confirmation kept repeating, that is a sign. If your spirit feels alert and serious right now, that is a sign. If old dreams are awakening again, that is a sign. If you sense that midnight represents more than a time but a transition, that is a sign. All these indicators point to the same truth. You are not listening to someone else's breakthrough. You are standing at the edge of your own. And the signs have been quietly preparing you for this moment. A financial blessing has been released in your name, but there is one final step that determines whether it remains a promise in the atmosphere or becomes provision in your hands. That step is acceptance, not passive hope, not distant optimism, but intentional, spiritual acceptance. There is a gate between release and reality, and that gate opens when you receive what God has authorized. Many people pray for increase, yet when increase approaches, they struggle to accept it. Deep within, they question whether it is truly for them. They replay past mistakes. They remember seasons of failure. They wonder if they are worthy of more. But acceptance is not about worthiness. It is about agreement. When God releases a blessing in your name, He has already settled the question of qualification. Your role is not to reevaluate His decision. Your role is to receive it. Acceptance begins in the mind. If you still see yourself as someone destined for constant struggle, you will subconsciously resist overflow. If you secretly believe that money always disappears from your life, you will unintentionally block stability. The spiritual gate opens when you shift your internal language. Instead of saying, "I hope this happens," you begin saying, "I receive what has been released." Instead of thinking, "This is too good to be true," you declare, "If God has spoken it, it is true for me." Receiving is different from striving. Striving is anxious effort. Receiving is confident alignment. You do not have to chase what heaven has already dispatched. You position yourself for it. You prepare for it. You make room for it. If someone told you a valuable package was arriving at your home tonight, you would not leave your door blocked with clutter. You would clear the entrance. In the same way, acceptance means clearing mental and emotional clutter that blocks the flow of provision. Before midnight, this gate of acceptance must open within you. The blessing has been released, but you must unlock your agreement. That means letting go of resentment from past financial disappointments. That means forgiving yourself for previous missteps. That means silencing the voice that says, "It never works out for me." You cannot carry old narratives into a new season of provision. There is also a spiritual authority attached to spoken declaration. When you declare aloud that you receive what God has released, you solidify alignment. Words shape reality. Words create direction. When your mouth agrees with heaven, your atmosphere shifts. This is not superstition. It is spiritual principle. Life and direction follow declaration. Another key to acceptance is gratitude before manifestation. When you thank God in advance, you demonstrate trust. Gratitude is evidence of belief. It signals that you are not waiting for proof to become thankful. You are thankful because you trust the one who promised. That posture accelerates movement. As midnight approaches, you must consciously cross through this gate. Say within yourself, "I accept the financial blessing released in my name. I am ready to steward it wisely. I am prepared for increase." That declaration is not arrogance. It is alignment. You are not demanding something unearned. You are agreeing with what has already been authorized. Some of you feel hesitation even now, a quiet fear that accepting this promise might lead to disappointment. But understand this: refusing to accept does not protect you from disappointment. It only delays fulfillment. Faith always carries risk, but it also carries reward. If you close the gate because of fear, you block not only the blessing but the growth attached to it. There is something powerful waiting on the other side of your acceptance. Not just financial relief but confidence. Not just provision but peace. Not just increase but influence. The spiritual gate is not heavy. It does not require force. It opens with belief. And hear this clearly: the next step will determine whether this remains potential or becomes reality. What you choose in these moments before midnight matters more than you realize. Your internal yes unlocks external manifestation. Your agreement activates acceleration. Your acceptance secures the transfer. Do not stand outside the gate analyzing it. Walk through. Receive what has been released. Align your thoughts, your words, and your expectations with the declaration over your life. A financial blessing has been released in your name. Open the gate. Accept it fully. Let no doubt linger at the threshold. If you are ready to open the spiritual gate, type "I accept my blessing" in the comments right now. Blessing code 528 is now activated over your household. As you step through this spiritual gate of acceptance, understand that your generosity can become a gate for someone else's breakthrough. When you give through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are pouring oil into a lamp that carries light to thousands who are standing in their own midnight hour. The Lord declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you, pressed down and running over." And this is not history. It is His living promise over your obedience today. I sense this strongly. Your seed in this moment becomes a prophetic echo of the blessing released in your name. The PayPal link is waiting in the description, and the QR code may be before you. Do not delay your response. Let your giving move as swiftly as your faith. As you sow into this mission, may rivers of provision answer back over your life. Act now and seal this hour with obedience. A financial blessing has been released in your name. You have recognized the timing. You have passed the test. You have stepped through the gate of acceptance. But now comes another critical phase, guarding what has been authorized. Because whenever something valuable is released, interference attempts to follow. The warning was not only about receiving before midnight, it was also about not letting it pass to someone else. And one of the ways blessings slip away is through unguarded vulnerability after alignment. Spiritual interference does not always look dramatic. It often begins subtly. Negative thoughts begin whispering again. Doubt tries to return after you have already declared acceptance. Unexpected distractions attempt to pull your focus. Conversations with pessimistic voices try to water down your expectation. The goal of interference is simple: to weaken your confidence so that you unconsciously loosen your grip on what you have received. When heaven releases provision, opposition sometimes intensifies because something valuable is at stake. You must understand that not every challenge appearing right now is proof that the blessing has stalled. In many cases, it is confirmation that movement is happening. Resistance often reacts to progress. But guarding the blessing means refusing to interpret resistance as cancellation. One of the primary ways to guard your blessing is through your words. After you have declared, "I accept my blessing," do not return to speaking defeat. Words create spiritual environment. If you fill your atmosphere with fear, you weaken your alignment. If you speak expectation consistently, you reinforce it. Guard your confession. Guard your tone. Guard the way you talk about your finances in the coming hours and days. Another way to guard the blessing is through peace. Anxiety is one of the fastest ways to destabilize faith. When you feel urgency turning into panic, pause. Breathe. Remember that the release has already happened. You are not trying to force God's hand. You're aligning with what He has already authorized. Peace protects clarity. Clarity protects obedience. Obedience protects manifestation. You must also guard your focus. Not everyone needs to know what you are expecting. Sometimes, sharing prematurely exposes your anticipation to unnecessary doubt. There are seasons for public testimony, and there are seasons for quiet incubation. Right now, this is about stewardship. Protect the seed until it sprouts. Protect the expectation until it materializes. Be alert to internal sabotage. Sometimes interference does not come from outside voices, it comes from old habits, impulsive decisions, emotional spending, careless reactions. Guarding your blessing means acting like someone who expects increase. It means preparing structure instead of chaos. It means making wise choices even before the full manifestation appears. You protect what you value. And remember, unity multiplies protection. If this word has stirred something powerful in you, share it with someone who also needs to guard their midnight moment. Like this message as a sign of agreement. Comment boldly that you are protecting what has been released in your name. Subscribe if you are committed to walking in alignment beyond this single word. When you engage in faith and share in faith, you strengthen the atmosphere around you. You are not just interacting, you are reinforcing spiritual agreement. There is something else you must understand. Guarding the blessing is not about fear of loss. It is about honoring the gift. When something precious is entrusted to you, you treat it carefully. You do not leave it exposed to harm. You do not neglect it. You nurture it. In the same way, nurture your expectation. Nurture your faith. Nurture your discipline. As midnight approaches or passes, do not suddenly relax into indifference. Stay attentive. Watch for opportunities. Watch for conversations. Watch for ideas. Sometimes the blessing arrives in disguised form. It may come as a responsibility before it comes as visible increase. It may come as a connection before it becomes compensation. If you are guarded and alert, you will recognize it. And hear this clearly: what you do immediately after this message will matter. The next decision you make, the next words you speak, the next thought you entertain. These moments are shaping your alignment. You have come too far to allow subtle interference to weaken your agreement. There is more ahead. The final declarations will seal what has begun. What comes next will solidify everything you have aligned with so far. Do not let your guard down now, because the closing phase carries weight. Stay spiritually steady. Stay expectant. Stay disciplined. A financial blessing has been released in your name. You have accepted it. Now protect it. Guard your peace. Guard your words. Guard your focus. Because the difference between potential and possession is often found in how well you guard what heaven has already sent. A financial blessing has been released in your name, yet for some of you, there is still a lingering question in your spirit. What if it gets delayed like before? A question does not come from faith. It comes from history. You have experienced delays. You have seen opportunities stall. You have watched promises seem close, only to drift beyond reach. But this moment is not about reliving old cycles. This moment is about breaking them. There is a difference between divine timing and destructive delay. Divine timing prepares you. Destructive delay drains you. Divine timing strengthens your character. Destructive delay weakens your confidence. For too long, some of you have mistaken patterns of resistance as permanent realities. But tonight, you must separate what was allowed for growth from what has lingered beyond its season. Financial delay often begins in the unseen realm before it shows up in circumstances. It can take the form of repeated setbacks, sudden losses, misaligned partnerships, or opportunities that collapse unexpectedly. Over time, these experiences shape belief systems. You begin to expect delay. You brace yourself for disappointment, and that expectation subtly reinforces the cycle. But cycles can be broken. The first step in breaking financial delay is recognition. Acknowledge that you have been in a pattern that does not align with God's declaration over your life. You were not created to permanently struggle. You were not destined to remain at the edge of breakthrough without stepping into it. The release in your name signals that the cycle is reaching its end. The second step is renouncing agreement with delay. Agreement is powerful. If you repeatedly say, "It never works out for me," you are reinforcing a pattern. If you constantly anticipate loss, you align your emotions with defeat. Tonight, before midnight fully closes this chapter, you must withdraw your agreement with limitation. Declare within yourself, "Delay is not my destiny. Stagnation is not my identity." There is also a need to break internal hesitation. Sometimes delay continues not because doors are closed, but because you are slow to move when they open. Fear of making the wrong decision can cause paralysis. But fear is not wisdom. Wisdom seeks counsel, prays, and then acts. Fear analyzes endlessly and never moves. If a financial blessing has been released in your name, you must be willing to step forward when opportunity presents itself. Another hidden source of delay is unhealed disappointment. Past failures can quietly shape present behavior. If you tried something before and it did not succeed, you may hesitate to try again. But past failure does not predict future outcome when seasons have shifted. The midnight transition marked a new chapter. Do not let old chapters dictate your current response. Breaking financial delay also involves discipline. Sometimes what feels like spiritual resistance is actually structural disorder. If your finances lack organization, clarity, or planning, confusion can create unnecessary stagnation. As you expect increase, prepare systems to manage it. Order invites flow. Chaos repels it. God's blessings thrive in environments of wisdom and structure. There is authority in spoken declaration. Right now, you can speak directly against cycles that have persisted too long. Say aloud, I break every pattern of financial delay over my life. I step into acceleration. I receive what has been released in my name. Words backed by belief carry force. They shift your internal alignment, which in turn influences external manifestation. You must also shift your expectation from someday to now. Delay thrives in vague timelines. But this message carries urgency. Before midnight, at the threshold, in this transition, that language signals immediacy. When you move with immediacy, you shorten unnecessary waiting. Understand this clearly. Breaking delay does not mean forcing outcomes. It means removing resistance. It means aligning your faith with the reality that the release has already occurred. It means refusing to allow doubt, fear, or disorganization to stretch what heaven has already authorized. As you stand in this moment, imagine chains labeled delay falling from your path. Imagine barriers labeled not yet dissolving. Imagine doors that once seemed locked beginning to open with ease. This is not fantasy. It is alignment with a new season. You have endured enough postponement. You have learned the lessons required. The blessing has been released. The midnight threshold has been crossed. Now is the time to step into acceleration. Break agreement with delay. Break patterns of hesitation. Break mental conditioning rooted in lack. The chapter of waiting without movement is closing. The chapter of steady progress is opening. And as you walk forward from this moment, you do so with clarity. Delay no longer defines you. Provision, alignment, and acceleration do. And now we come to a sacred moment. Everything you have heard up to this point has been preparation. The blessing has been released in your name. The midnight threshold has been crossed. The test has revealed your readiness. The gate of acceptance has opened. Delay has been confronted and broken. Now it is time to seal this season with a prophetic declaration of release. Declaration is not repetition for motivation. It is alignment with authority. When God speaks something over your life, your agreement gives it room to manifest. Silence can sometimes signal hesitation, but bold declaration signals ownership. And if a financial blessing has been released in your name, you must not whisper your response. You must declare it. There is power in calling things forward. Even before you see physical evidence, your words begin shaping your atmosphere. Think of a commander giving instruction. Movement follows the command. In the same way, when you declare provision, increase, and alignment, you are commanding your internal world to cooperate with heaven's decision. Right now, I want you to shift from passive listening to active agreement. Do not treat this as a motivational speech. Treat it as a spiritual sealing. Say within yourself, I declare that the financial blessing released in my name is manifesting. I declare that I am aligned, prepared, and ready. I declare that no interference will cancel what God has authorized. Declaration breaks timidity. Some of you have been hesitant to speak boldly about finances because you feared disappointment. You told yourself that staying quiet would protect you from embarrassment if nothing changed. But silence does not protect you from disappointment. It only postpones breakthrough. Faith speaks before it sees. There is also something important about expectancy. Expectancy is the atmosphere in which miracles thrive. If you expect nothing, you recognize nothing. If you expect increase, you notice opportunity. It heightens awareness. It prepares you to recognize doors that once would have looked ordinary. As you declare release, you are also shifting your posture. You move from begging to believing. You move from hoping to knowing. You move from questioning to trusting. That internal shift changes everything. When your posture changes, your decisions change. When your decisions change, your results change. Remember, this blessing is not random. It is intentional. It has purpose attached to it. It is not only for comfort, it is for call you. That means your declaration must include stewardship. Say, I will manage what I receive with wisdom. I will honor God with increase. I will use provision to advance purpose. This transforms the blessing from temporary relief into sustained impact. You may feel something rising within you as you speak these declarations, a sense of authority you have not felt before. That is not imagination. That is alignment. When you agree with heaven, confidence increases, fear weakens, clarity strengthens, and doors begin to respond to your expectation. There will still be practical steps ahead, opportunities to evaluate, decisions to make, but those steps will flow from a place of assurance rather than anxiety. The prophetic declaration anchors you before you move forward. It centers you. It stabilizes you. It reminds you that the release began in the spirit and is now moving toward manifestation. Let this moment be intentional. Pause if you need to. Speak aloud. Do not rush through it. Feel the weight of your words. You are not trying to convince yourself of something false. You are aligning yourself with something true. A financial blessing has been released in your name. That statement stands whether you whisper or shout. But when you declare it boldly, you participate in its manifestation. As you finish this declaration, sense the shift. The heaviness that once surrounded your finances begins to lift. The uncertainty that once clouded your future begins to clear. Confidence replaces doubt. Expectancy replaces fear. Peace replaces tension. You are not leaving this message the same way you entered it. Something hath been sealed. Something has been activated. Something has been confirmed. The release is no longer just an announcement. It is a declaration you have embraced. Hold on to this posture as we approach the final charge. What comes next will anchor everything in assurance and divine confidence. Stay aligned. Stay steady. The blessing has been spoken. The declaration has been made. And manifestation is closer than it appears. We have reached the final charge in this sacred moment, and I need you to feel the weight of it with clarity and confidence. God says, a financial blessing has been released in your name. That was not a suggestion. It was not a possibility. It was not a distant dream. It was a declaration. And now, after everything you have aligned, declared, and broken off, this is the moment to stand fully assured. You did not listen to this message by accident. You were positioned here intentionally. Through every part, you have been guided step by step, through urgency, authorization, testing, acceptance, guarding, breaking delay, and declaring release. None of it was random. It was preparation. And now the preparation meets assurance. Hear this clearly. God does not tease his children with false hope. When he release, when he attaches your name to a blessing, he does not confuse the recipient. When he signals urgency before midnight, it is not to create fear but to awaken focus. And you responded. You aligned. You declared. You guarded. You broke agreement with delay. That matters. The enemy may try to whisper after this message ends. He may attempt to plant small doubts. What if nothing changes? What if this was just emotional excitement? But you must answer those whispers with authority. You must say, I have already aligned with what heaven authorized. I will not retreat into doubt. Assurance is not arrogance. It is confidence rooted in trust. There is peace available to you right now. Not anxious anticipation. Not restless waiting. Peace. The kind of peace that says, it is done in the spirit, and I will see it unfold in the natural. Peace keeps your heart steady while circumstances adjust. Peace keeps your decisions wise while opportunities appear. Peace prevents you from sabotaging what you have received. As you move forward from this moment, carry expectation without obsession. Be alert without anxiety. Watchful without worry. The blessing has been released. That means movement is already happening beyond your sight. Conversations are aligning. Doors are preparing. Solutions are forming. You do not have to force what has already been set in motion. And remember, this financial blessing is not only about money. It is about stability. It is about relief. It is about new capacity. It is about stepping into a season where you are not constantly reacting to lack but responding from abundance. It is about freedom to think clearly, plan boldly, and give generously. That is the heart of this release. Do not shrink back into old language. Do not return to calling yourself unlucky or delayed. Speak as someone who has been marked for increase. Walk as someone who expects favor. Plan as someone who anticipates sustainability. Your identity must match your declaration. If small obstacles appear, do not panic. If timing feels slightly stretched, do not surrender to fear. You have crossed the midnight threshold. You have broken delay. You have declared release. Stand firm in that alignment. Sometimes manifestation unfolds step by step rather than all at once. But when it unfolds, it confirms what was already settled. Let this be your closing confession. The financial blessing released in my name will not pass me by. I am aligned. I am prepared. I am at peace. I receive with gratitude and steward with wisdom. Carry those words beyond this moment. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not stuck. You are stepping into a new chapter marked by provision and purpose. The urgency brought you here. The alignment keeps you steady. The assurance sends you forward. If you are sealing this word over your life, type IT is sealed in the comments right now. Blessing code 904 is now activated over your finances and household. As this word is sealed over your life, let your response become part of someone else's breakthrough. When you give through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are sowing into a river that carries God's voice to souls standing at their own midnight threshold. The Lord declares, as you honor me with your substance, I will open the windows of heaven, and this promise is alive over you right now. I believe this deeply. Your seed in this hour is not a donation. It is a prophetic action that aligns you with the very blessing released in your name. The PayPal link is in the description, and the QR code may be on your screen. Move in obedience without hesitation. As you sow, may increase answer you swiftly and abundantly. Let your generosity echo your faith. Act now and seal your obedience with boldness.